Well, hello there, and welcome to Hobie on YouTube. Thanks for taking a look. So I have another addition to my Boy Scout knife collection. As you may know, I kind of have this core collection of Scout knives that is official Boy Scout of America knives from pre-World War II. And so I'm still missing a couple that I want to get. And now I was able to find a New York Knife Company knife that kind of fits in their progression that I didn't have. So I'm really happy to have it. And in the spirit of bringing to you and showing to you everything I get, here it is. So this is a New York Knife Company official Boy Scout of America knife. And New York Knife Company was the very first knife company that was licensed to produce official Boy Scout of America knives. And they did that exclusively up until 1923. But they put out their first one in 1911. And I'll show you that. But this one is the one they used from 1923 to 1926. And, you know, it just kind of looks like your regular four-bladed Scout knife. And there are just, really there's just one difference between this one and the one that came before it. So let me just kind of show you the others. We'll show you the whole lineup of the New York Knife Company Boy Scout of America knives. And New York Knife Company did go out of business in 1931, so all of their official Boy Scout knives are pre-World War II. Let me just kind of show you the progression and the timeline of that, and we can put this into context. And in order to do that, I had my graphics team come up with a visual aid, a beautiful timeline to help us along with that. So here it is. And in looking at that, I'm thinking I might be paying them too much, but I don't know. Anyway, so this knife was the knife that New York Knife Company produced from 1923 to 1926. So we go all the way back to 1911. This is the very first knife that they produced for the Boy Scouts of America. It did have a permanently attached bail that was centered here in the middle of the bolster. It was an oversized bail. And they had a banner shield that read, "Be prepared," and it was oriented upside down like that, so you can kind of turn it this way to read it. But let me just walk you through the tools because this is kind of the base model. So screwdriver cap lifter, marked New York Knife Company. A one-piece sickle-style can opener. And all these New York Knife Company Boy Scout knives had half stops on the tools on the back end only. A nice crisp half stop on that one. A punch with a patent number in it. Again, a half stop on that. And a narrow spear point blade. Only a spear point blade on these early ones. And it carried the Hammer brand name and logo on it. So that was your very first one. And that was around from 1911 to 1916. And then they made a change. It was very slight change. It was the bail. They made the bail much smaller and made it a removable bail. And so everything else pretty much remained the same. I mean, there's some slight differences in the frame and some other things, but for the most part, it's just the bail. And you can see here that it's, you know, it's drilled down here lower in the bolster. So that's one way to tell that it's the second version with the detachable bail. Sometimes you find them without the bails. So actually found this one without the bail, but it did have the pins, so I knew it was the original one, and I did recreate that larger bail. So again, pretty much the same tool set, right? Half stop. Spear point blade. This one's got a little damage to it. So the only difference really, that ran from 1917 to 1922. In 1923, they changed the shield. So it's pretty much the same knife, same tool set. Here you got the removable bail again. I think obviously the bone scales, at least the dye changed from a more caramel color to a darker kind of Oxford kind of color there. I don't know if the jigging is really that different. It certainly is compared to the first one I have, but that could be down to just wear. This is a very old knife. So anyway, as you can see, it looks a lot like the one I just showed you. Got a little damage to the tip of the screwdriver there. It's nice, really great shape. There's that half stop again. Here's the awl. Again with the patent number. Patent number has changed a little bit. Ouch. Always doing that. All right, and again, just a spear point blade. The crescent nail nick. So I think the reason that New York Knife Company changed shields in 1923 is that that was the first year that the Boy Scouts of America introduced some competition in New York Knife Company by allowing Remington and Ulster to both offer official Boy Scout of America knives. And I think what they wanted to do is have each knife company have a distinctively different shield so people could quickly tell them apart. So New York Knife Company went with this oval shield here, kind of a pinched oval shield with the fleur-de-lis in there, and it says, you know, be prepared. Remington came out with what is now called the Acorn shield. It's just kind of an outline of the Boy Scout insignia there, and it does say be prepared. And then Ulster's shield was more of a kind of a federal shield design, but also with the motto and the insignia. So you could tell whether it was an Ulster or Remington or New York Knife Company knife just by looking at the shields. Yeah, so Remington ran this Acorn shield for those same dates, 1923 to 26, and Ulster ran this version of their knife, their very first Boy Scout knife, for those 4 years as well, until they made some changes to the cap lifter, the can opener, and some other little things. So that timeline's correct for all three of those knives across there. And then in 1927, New York Knife Company kind of upped their game and changed the knife altogether. You know, from the outside, it looks pretty much the same shield, same smaller removable bail, but all the tools were different. On this version of the knife, you could get either a clip point blade like this or a spear point blade. And they redesigned their screwdriver where it did not have a cap lifter. It was longer, probably sturdier, and had two places to strip cables or wires. And they modified the can opener to include the cap lifter. So that is their version of a combo cap lifter can opener. And the punch changed. They got this patented Harrison punch, which has these characteristic spiral lines in it. And I can't really think that that would help too much with any kind of like drilling or boring action, but there it is. And it was patented. It's called the Harrison punch. So that is the version that they used until they went out of business in 1931. And with that version, they also introduced a Junior Scout knife. So this is the first time New York Knife Company introduced the junior size. These were all 3 5/8. In 1927, they started offering this junior that's 3 3/8, and it's pretty much the same knife, just sized down. Also, you could get this in a spear point or the clip point like this. Same combo opening tool. We're hung up there somehow. The blade's in the way. Here we go. And the same Harrison punch. And I think the reason they did that in 1927, started offering the smaller knife, is that Remington and Ulster had offered a Junior Scout knife from the first year they got into the market. So in 1923, you could get the full-size 3 3/4 Remington or their downsized 3 3/8 junior knife. So here it is, the first one again with the Acorn shield, and then here is Ulster's first Junior Scout knife with the Federal shield. So this is the new knife that I have. I just wanted to show it to you. It is kind of hard to get because I only made it for 4 years there, 23, 24, 25, and 26. And yeah, it's not so different than the one that came before it, but now it does have that unique badge. And so I hope you enjoyed that, particularly you Boy Scout or scout knife fans out there. Hey, I appreciate you guys. And hey, keep watching. I promise you, as I get new and interesting things, I'll make a video. I think up next we're going to talk about buck knives and buck 112s specifically some more.